A brilliant comet streaks across the star-studded night sky, while below it, a bustling highway chokes with heavy traffic. A crimson motorcycle rockets forward, slicing through the air at a breathtaking velocity. On this fierce machine rides a young man, focused and determined. His jet-black hair whips wildly in the wind, a stark contrast to his lack of helmet or any protective gear. Navigating the gridlocked highway, he miraculously catches every green light, a stroke of extraordinary luck, yet he wears a frown. His frustration stems from an ironic curse, possessing the superpower of luck but feeling powerless to wield it. Speeding onward, he shuts his eyes momentarily, his mind drifting back to the morning's unfolding memories. A massive crowd gathers on the grounds of the Superhuman Academy, eagerly awaiting the entrance examination that will decide their future. On stage stand the exceptional students who excelled in the written test, ready for the next challenge. Today, their superhuman abilities will be put to the test, each candidate positioned before a glowing magical sphere. Among these top contenders is the young man, eagerly bracing himself for the trial ahead. In the audience, a striking girl with flowing black hair cheers passionately, her eyes fixed on him. The host steps forward to explain the testing rules. There are 5 tiers of superpowers: White Dust, Blue Spirit, Violet Soul, Red Royal, and the coveted Sacred Black. Only students ranked Blue Spirit or higher will be accepted, as those in the lowest White Dust tier will be excluded from recruitment. When the young man placed his hand on the ball before him, it erupted in a brilliant white glow, marking him unmistakably as a White Dust bearer. His eyes widened in stunned disbelief. As his gaze shifted toward the other students, he noticed one possessed a Violet Soul, while the remainder radiated Blue Spirits. Behind the raven-haired beauty, a blonde young man stood watching intently. Amid the crowd, he chuckled mockingly at Ming-He, ridiculing him as one of the rare few with the White Dust talent, belittling the invisibility of such a power. Frozen by shock and humiliation, Ming-He was overwhelmed as the crowd erupted in laughter and scorn directed at him. The blonde man then sneered, questioning Ming-He's audacity to confess his feelings to the school's Violet Soul beauty. The black-haired beauty lifted her eyes toward the stage, worry etched deeply in her expression. Ming-He's flashback shattered as he snapped his eyes open. Suddenly, a massive truck barreled toward him, threatening imminent impact. He deftly dodged the truck and narrowly avoided another oncoming vehicle. Despite escaping death by a hair, frustration consumed him as he cursed his power's apparent uselessness. Moments later, Ming-He could be seen journeying beyond the city limits. He traveled along a road framed by the immense skeleton of a thoracic spine, its towering arches spanning the way like a natural gateway. Looking up, Ming-He spotted a comet drawing ever nearer to his location. At first glance, it appeared to be a singular, massive comet. But on closer inspection, multiple comets trailed closely behind the giant one, following its path through the sky. Ming-He believed his incredible luck made him untouchable, even bullets would miss him, so how could a colossal comet striking the vast Earth possibly harm him? Just as that confident thought crossed his mind, a brilliant light suddenly burst forth from behind him. Turning around, Ming-He's eyes widened in shock as he caught sight of the roaring comet hurtling toward him. A deafening rumble followed instantly. Ming-He had no moment to brace himself or react. The ground convulsed violently, sending shards of debris flying as a dense cloud of dust billowed from the comet's impact site. When the dust settled, Ming-He lay motionless on the scorched earth amidst the crater's depths. Positioned directly in the crater's center, marking the epicenter of destruction, his body astonishingly remained unharmed. Suddenly, a shimmering, bubble-like essence drifted gently through the air and merged into Ming-He's chest. A game-style interface abruptly appeared, revealing Ming-He's stats. His luck attribute gleamed exceptionally high, and a message indicated this was shielding him from being consumed like a parasite by the system. Before him materialized the silhouette of a colossal woman, seemingly embodying the very essence of the system itself. Another system alert warned that a hostile entity approached, advising that coexistence with the host was the optimal strategy. The system penetrated Ming-He's hippocampus, extracting memories to identify and understand its host. Upon learning that Ming-He lacked any combat skills, the towering silhouette bestowed upon him newfound powers. Ming-He's talent rating immediately surged, ascending to the prestigious Royal Red tier. Satisfied, the silhouette concluded that with his enhanced abilities, Ming-He might now be capable of defending himself effectively. Later, at the hospital, Ming-He lay in a bed, connected to monitors and a ventilator keeping him alive. The doctor spoke quietly with a blonde nurse about Ming-He's condition, explaining that while his body remained stable, a severe head injury had caused him to fall into a prolonged coma. As the blonde nurse assured she would watch over Ming-hee, another nurse entered, calling for Dr. Zio. She informed him that Tian Wen's team had delivered a vial of the monster's blood requiring immediate examination. Dr. Zio and the nurses then left the room, leaving Ming-hee alone in quiet solitude. Several days later, a striking woman with raven black hair visited Ming-hee, carrying a fresh bouquet of flowers as a gentle gesture. She gazed at the unconscious Ming-hee, her expression heavy with concern and silent worry. A month on, a young blonde man and his companions came to see Ming-hee, their eyes cold and mocking as they regarded him. They ridiculed how Ming-hee had been frustrated by his desire to become superhuman and argued that, despite his mood, he should have prioritized his own safety. During their conversation, the blonde spotted a pink envelope tucked inside the bouquet resting on Ming-hee's bedside table while his friends grumbled about the steep medical bills his older sister had to cover by taking on extra work. Ignoring their chatter, the blonde reached for the pink envelope and carefully opened it to discover what was inside. His face contorted with fury as he read the message, a letter from the raven-haired enchantress Luke Hyun, responding to Ming-hee's heartfelt confession. Jealousy blazed in his eyes as he grappled with the unsettling realization that Ming-hee was a disabled superhuman, whose fate, whether he would ever regain consciousness, remained uncertain. The blonde regarded him with scorn. In a fit of anger, he tore the letter to pieces right then and there. Then a full year slipped quietly by. Suddenly, a colossal, cockroach-like monster emerged from a manhole, its enormous size shattering the surrounding concrete as it forcefully climbed out. The hospital's PA system crackled to life, broadcasting an urgent alert, a massive outbreak of mutant monsters in Nanchang, instructing all medical personnel to evacuate immediately. Dr. Zio and several staff members were caught off guard as nurses and patients hurried toward the exits. However, the blonde nurse caring for Ming-hee dashed resolutely in the opposite direction. Alarmed by her actions, Dr. Zio watched the nurse with concern. Just as he prepared to follow, the building trembled violently, and his colleagues urged him to evacuate at once. The blonde nurse's heart was heavy with worry for the unconscious student. As she sprinted down the corridors, she resolved that even if he never awoke, she couldn't abandon him in such peril. Pursuing Ming-hee's room, she remained unaware of the looming silhouette behind her, an ominous monster, dripping saliva from its clawed hands and lolling tongue, hanging menacingly from the ceiling. With urgency, she flung open the door to Ming-hee's room, seeking refuge. She caught sight of his grimacing face, contorted as if he were enduring intense pain. Without hesitation, she sprang toward him, gripped his hand firmly, and tried to pull him off the bed. Suddenly, something seized her attention. She glimpsed her reflection in the window, and behind her stood a massive cockroach. Frozen in terror, she was held captive by the grotesque creature. The monster began licking her face, savoring her presence as if she were a delicacy. Then, unexpectedly, the hand she was holding twisted free and landed a fierce punch on the creature behind her. Her eyes widened in shock at what she witnessed. The blow was so forceful it sent ripples through the air, like a shockwave. Ming-hee, now seated on his bed, fixed a deadly glare ahead as an ethereal mist surrounded his clenched fists. Beneath the sparkling night sky outside the hospital, swarms of cockroach monsters crawled relentlessly across its walls. Suddenly, a section of the upper wall exploded outward as if something fierce had burst through. The blast created a jagged hole through 3 layers of wall, exposing the night sky. Ming-hee faced the breach, fists clenched, while before him knelt a blonde nurse shielding her head desperately, as if her survival hinged on it. Behind her lay a cockroach monster, missing its upper half. The fallen half of the creature collapsed to the floor with a resounding thud. Ming-hee reassured the blonde nurse calmly, telling her the monster was finally defeated. He extended his hand gently toward the nurse. Then he asked her if she was able to stand. Ming-hee expressed his gratitude to the blonde nurse, Miss Song, for her devoted care during his long recovery. In return, Miss Song thanked Ming-hee for saving her life and asked him when he first regained consciousness. Ming-hee avoided answering and quickly changed the subject, inquiring if he was at Nanchang Hospital and questioning why so many monsters were present there. Miss Song explained that higher authorities at UPS had reported a contaminated fluid had leaked into the city's sewage system, infecting parasites and triggering their mutation. Curious, Ming-hee asked about the fate of the other staff members and the residents living nearby. Miss Song replied they were likely evacuating to safer areas, but since Ming-hee had been unconscious, she had felt overwhelmed and uncertain. Her voice faltered as a vivid image flashed across her mind, Ming-hee being devoured by a monster. Ming-hee smiled reassuringly, telling Miss Song she hadn't abandoned him when it mattered most. Miss Song modestly replied that she was simply fulfilling her responsibilities, then asked how Ming-hee, still just a student, had defeated the mutant with a single punch. Internally, Ming-hee reflected that he'd spent an entire year honing his combat skills, but to avoid revealing too much, he sidestepped her question again and urged they leave immediately to join the others in safety. The commotion from their earlier fight had drawn even more monsters, flooding the hallway with hostile creatures. Using the hole he had made earlier in the wall, Ming-hee stepped into the corridor and instructed Miss Song to stay inside the room for safety. The moment Ming-hee stepped out, monsters lunged at him with ferocious aggression. Adopting a swift punching stance, Ming-hee dispatched every cockroach nearby with a single, lightning-fast strike. Those cockroaches lurking at the hallway's far end froze in shock, stunned by the sight before them. With determined speed, Ming-hee charged forward, obliterating them one by one with precise punches. As he struck down the last cockroach, a piercing scream from Miss Song caught his attention. Turning around, he spotted a cockroach that had slipped through the ceiling cracks, poised menacingly to attack Miss Song. His eyes quickly spotted a bottle of sulfuric acid resting on a nearby medical cart. Ming-hee dashed over, snatched the bottle, and shattered it firmly in his grasp. Rather than spilling onto the floor, the acid coalesced into his fists, glowing with dangerous energy. Miss Song had closed her eyes, shielding her head with one hand, seemingly resigned to her grim fate until Ming-hee unleashed his acid punch against the cockroach. Tears streamed down Miss Song's face as she opened her eyes to witness the monster that threatened her dissolving before her very eyes. Ming-hee gazed at his glowing hand, reflecting on the countless hours he had spent perfecting this move in his mind. His fists radiated an eerie green luminescence, signaling the unleashed power within. Miss Song exclaimed with awe, asking whether his extraordinary ability was linked to his punches. Without directly answering, Ming-hee smiled humbly and confessed he was still a student who had failed last year's examination. Miss Song snapped back, claiming the teachers must be blind, as his abilities paled in comparison to several Pyro-class superhumans. His smile faded into sorrow as he recalled the humiliating memory of being ranked as white dust during last year's exam. Ming-hee inquired about the mysterious fluid and the terrifying transformation of the cockroaches. Miss Song explained that cockroaches weren't the only creatures lurking in the city's sewers. Ming-hee nodded thoughtfully and then asked if more sulfuric acid was available, noting its usefulness. Along the mountainside roadway, where the sewers emptied into a flowing river, a bus cruised over a bridge, while beneath it loomed a massive shadow with enormous, glowing eyes. As the bus advanced across the bridge, the concrete ahead erupted violently, sending debris hurtling through the air. The passengers inside, including the driver, screamed in terror and chaos erupted. They watched in horror as a swarm of grotesque cockroach monsters crawled upward along the bridge toward them. Dr. Zio, trapped inside the bus, frantically called for backup on his phone, reporting a surge of mutant creatures attacking at Nanchang Bridge and urgently requesting superhuman intervention. Suddenly, a cockroach shattered the window and lunged at a woman sitting nearby just as a deafening bang echoed through the air. A man dressed in a rugged cowboy outfit suddenly appeared, perched atop the bus's roof. A distinctive badge hinting at superhuman status gleamed on his chest, and he gripped a rifle in each hand, both barrels still emitting smoke. The lingering smoke signaled freshly fired shots that had just felled a cockroach, now slumped lifeless against the bus window. Introducing himself as a Pyro-class superhuman, he spoke with calm assurance to comfort the terrified passengers inside the bus. He unleashed a relentless barrage from his rifles, shouting defiantly at the attacking monsters that he would eliminate them all. His voice rang out, proclaiming his power, infinite bullets, no matter how many foes appeared. Amid the hail of gunfire, a cockroach managed to evade the bullets and lunged toward his foot, snapping its jaws. With agility, he leaped and spun gracefully through the air, narrowly avoiding the insect's attack. Continuing his rapid firing mid-air, he landed on the bus roof, striking a cool, confident pose. One knee bent in a dynamic stance, his expression suddenly shifted to shock as his eyes widened, sensing an enormous shadow looming ominously above him. Looking up, he was confronted by a colossal rat monster. Its massive, glittering eyes locked onto him, claws poised to strike. It bared razor-sharp teeth and screeched fiercely, spraying saliva through the air. A tremendous impact struck the bus, shattering the roof and sending debris flying through the air. Inside, passengers' faces twisted in sheer terror, eyes wide with horror at the unfolding scene. Through the jagged hole overhead, they witnessed the monstrous rat gnawing on the superhuman's body. As his badge tumbled into the bus cabin, the passengers cried out in desperate unison for help. Deep within the forest near the hospital building, the chilling events had just begun to unfold. Miss Song and Ming He crouched cautiously behind a tree. Miss Song quietly asked if any of the monsters had followed them, to which Ming He replied that, for the moment, they had not been pursued. Just as they prepared to move on, something unexpected caught Miss Song's eye. She noticed a bus engulfed in flames, resting at the far end of the shattered bridge. Miss Song speculated to Ming He that the burning vehicle was likely the final bus to depart from the hospital, implying that everyone on board was in grave danger. Suddenly, a handheld radio nearby emitted a sharp buzzing sound, immediately drawing Ming He's attention. The voice on the other end urgently reported a massive mutant rat sighted at Nanchang Bridge. The pyro-ranked twin-gun operator had lost all vital signs, and no registered superhuman was in the vicinity to assist. Ming He took the radio and requested detailed information about the giant rat. The responder revealed the creature's vulnerability to fire and inquired if Ming He was a superhuman. Ming He admitted he was merely a high school student who had failed the entrance exam for the Superhuman Academy. The voice on the radio grew frantic, cautioning Ming He harshly against underestimating the threat. It explained that the giant rat was classified as a general rank monster, rendering all conventional knowledge about rats ineffective and dangerous to rely on. Urgently, the voice urged Ming He to seek shelter immediately and preserve his life. Ignoring these warnings, Ming He resolutely moved toward the bridge, deliberately leaving the handheld radio behind. With a resolute expression, Ming He declared that the staff had cared for him throughout an entire year while he was unconscious, so he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. The colossal rat monster was now tipping the bus precariously toward the edge of the bridge. Inside, terrified passengers screamed as the monstrous rat's massive eyes appeared menacingly through the rear window. Nearby, Ming He and Miss Song took cover in the bushes, watching silently as the rat toyed with its captive prey. As Ming He prepared to emerge from their hiding spot, he urged Miss Song to remain concealed. She tried to stop him, warning that he could be killed if he took such a risk. Ming He smiled gently and reasoned that when someone's life is in danger, the caregivers wouldn't simply stand idly by. He believed that those who care don't just watch helplessly. Without hesitation, he leapt from the bushes, charging at the giant rat with the conviction that he couldn't defeat the monster unless he tried. As the rat bit fiercely at the bus's rear, Ming He's powerful punch struck its face, forcing it to release its grip and stagger back. While battling the monstrous rat, Ming He pondered how such creatures had grown to enormous sizes. He also feared that a single hit could shatter his bones, rendering him incapable of continuing the fight. The giant rat unleashed a furious barrage of attacks, smashing roads and cars, sending debris flying through the air. Ming He deftly dodged each onslaught, aware that rats are incredibly agile and determined not to let a single strike land. He sprinted toward a cluster of abandoned vehicles on the road, aiming to lure the giant rat away from the bus. The enormous rat lunged to bite Ming He, but instead it clamped down on a nearby car with a deafening crunch. Seizing the opportunity, Ming He unleashed a devastating punch straight into the rat's side. The force of the blow was so intense it generated a powerful gust, resembling a shockwave rippling through the air. When the dust and debris finally settled, the towering rat lay sprawled across the shattered concrete roadway. As the giant rat appeared unconscious, Ming He approached boldly, swinging his arms wide, ready to deliver the final strike. Suddenly he froze mid-step, struck by a sudden realization. He recalled that cunning creatures like rats often pretend to be lifeless to deceive their foes. Without warning, the rat's eyes snapped open and it lunged at Ming He, who swiftly dodged while the creature bit a car in half instead. Ming He sprinted between vehicles as the giant rat chased him relentlessly, smashing obstacles aside and sending cars flying in its wake. Now cornered, Ming He realized that his punches lacked the power needed to put down the monstrous rat. His eyes caught a tipped-over car leaking gasoline, sparking a new idea. He darted from car to car, quickly opening their gas tanks in a calculated move. Drawing the giant rat's attacks toward the fuel-filled vehicles, he skillfully baited it to strike each one. This exhausting cat-and-mouse game dragged on until the giant rat's movements grew sluggish and weary. Panting heavily and drooling, the beast fixed a fierce glare on Ming He, clearly drained but still dangerous. From a safe distance, Ming He held up a lighter, ready to spark the gasoline and end the confrontation. Meanwhile, Miss Song emerged from her hiding spot in the bushes and hurried toward the bus to check on Dr. Lin Zio and the others. Dr. Zio was both astonished and relieved when Miss Song managed to escape the hospital. As he questioned whether his eyes deceived him was the superhuman who saved them really dressed in a hospital uniform, a thunderous explosion interrupted their conversation. Vehicles surrounding the battleground where Ming-He clashed with the enormous rat suddenly erupted into flames. The entire vicinity was engulfed in flames, and terror unmistakably flickered across the giant rat's face. Ming-He's fist hovered amid the blaze, pulling the fire into himself as he prepared for his next move. Summoning every ounce of strength, he unleashed a fiery punch against the giant rat, a signature attack he named the Blazing Punch. His fierce strike cleared a path ahead, but the ground smoldered intensely where the flames had scorched it. The hospital staff erupted in cheers upon witnessing the giant rat's defeat. It soon became clear that the rescuer was clad in their hospital uniform. One staff member even recognized him as a student who had been in a coma for an entire year. Miss Song then informed the staff that his name was Ming-He. He was the student who had not been accepted by the Superhuman Academy. Meanwhile, at the Superhuman Command Station, a blonde superhuman communicated with Luke Hyun through the device around her neck, reporting that the general rank mutant monster had been eliminated. Luke Hyun, pausing on a tree branch, felt relief knowing the people were safe and was eager to discover who had slain the general rank mutant, intent on expressing her gratitude in person. The blonde superhuman didn't recognize who had rushed over a powerful figure, though certainly not the rude student she knew. Turning to Luke Hyun, she asked whether he had identified the pollution source. After a brief silence, Luke Hyun revealed that even more mutant creatures were likely to emerge in the near future. Their only option now was to evacuate every resident from Nanchang. Additionally, all contaminated zones needed to be completely sealed off. At the rescue center beside the gatekeeper who stood watch, Miss Song was carefully tending to bruises on Ming-He's hands. She commended his bravery, insisting that without his efforts, none of them would have survived. Ming-He averted his gaze, trying to conceal the flush of embarrassment coloring his face. Nearby, a young woman with flowing black hair was causing a stir as she attempted to breach the contaminated zone, only to be halted by the guard. The guard tried to reassure her that the area had already been completely evacuated, but she refused to listen, insisting her younger brother was still inside and she had to rescue him. Overwhelmed with emotion, she begged the guard, explaining how pitiful her brother was, a teenage boy trapped unconscious in a hospital who hadn't awakened. As she cried, pouring out her heartbreaking story, Ming-He, seated just a step away from the commotion, observed the woman with an amused expression. Tears streamed down the girl's face as she revealed her brother's name was Ming-He. Through sobs, she confided to the guard her disbelief that someone so young who hadn't even experienced holding a woman's hand would endure such a cruel fate. Gathering her resolve, she stared into the distance and vowed with unwavering determination that she would rescue him at any cost, even if it meant sacrificing her own life. And if he were to perish, she would not hesitate to follow him into death. Ming-He's jaw dropped as he stared at his sister, a mix of shock and embarrassment flooding his expression. Rising to his feet, Ming-He glanced sideways at his sister, curiosity and confusion evident in his eyes. For a brief moment, his sister was frozen in stunned silence, processing everything she had just heard. Then, overcome with emotion, she leapt into his arms and embraced him tightly as reality sank in. Overflowing with joy at Ming-He's awakening, relieved from the anxiety that had plagued her, she held him close, while he could only stare, overwhelmed by her tender response. As her sobs continued, Ming-He's face darkened with melancholy, memories surfacing of the struggles his sister had endured throughout the past year. Despite hardship, she had tirelessly cared for him, juggling multiple jobs to cover the mounting hospital expenses. He returned the embrace, filled with regret for the fright he caused and profound gratitude for her unwavering dedication during his ordeal. Later, inside a weather department building, Ming-He awoke sporting a fresh haircut and dressed in his own clothes, no longer confined to hospital attire. As he remarked on how long it had been since he'd slept under his own roof, his gaze fell upon a meal and a heartfelt letter from his sister, placed thoughtfully on the bedside table. The letter explained that his sister had returned to work because the medical bills remained unpaid, so she couldn't be by his side constantly. He was instructed to rest and recover at home. Ming-He was shocked by how expensive the hospitalization and care costs had become over just 1 year, including the surprisingly high price of his haircut the day before. He was overwhelmed with guilt, knowing his sister was working 3 jobs to support him. All that effort was just for him, yet she appeared even paler than he did, despite him being the one who had been sick. Determined to ease his sister's burden, he resolved to find a way to earn money and improve her life. As Ming-hee mulled over these thoughts, the television suddenly broadcasted a reward announcement for anyone who could provide information about the origin of the contaminated fluid. He sprang up, grabbed the remote, and exclaimed, "This is it." Additional rewards were also promised to those who eliminated the monsters terrorizing the area. Astounded that the problem remained unresolved, yet generous rewards were already being offered for any intel on the pollution source, he realized that with the money, he could not only settle all his medical debts but even afford a brand new home. What's more, the leftover funds could buy plenty of clothes and makeup to spoil his sister with. He began strategizing where the polluted fluid might originate, deciding his focus should shift to investigating Nanchang Hospital rather than the entire Nanchang district. He needs to venture inside to investigate. Even if he uncovers no clues, he can still earn rewards by eliminating the mutated monsters. This approach not only rids the area of threats and protects the community, but also allows him to gain valuable combat experience. Shortly afterward, Ming-hee entered the bounty hall. A receptionist warmly welcomed him and inquired whether he was there to post a bounty or if he identified as a superhuman. Ming-hee replied that he was a superhuman. The receptionist then asked about his rank to assign an appropriate bounty mission, but Ming-hee sidestepped the question and instead asked what rank was required to take on mutated cockroach hunts for bounty rewards. The receptionist explained that there were minimal prerequisites. As long as he could demonstrate some basic superpowers, they would grant him an intern superhuman badge. However, if he aimed to earn an official rank and attain starlight status, he would need to pass a far more rigorous examination. He agreed to the terms and requested to be escorted to the training facility. Inside the training area, numerous individuals were engaged in one-on-one combat exercises against robotic opponents. The receptionist then asked Ming-hee to describe the nature of his superpower. He told her that his punch was the one in question. Then she guided Ming-hee over to one of the robots, explaining that it would be used to evaluate his strength. She pointed out that the robot was built to withstand powerful hits, so Ming-hee could strike it with maximum force. She added that the robot would then display a numerical value indicating the strength of his punches. Ming-hee fixed his gaze on the screen attached to the robot's face. The screen showed a range from 0 to 1,200, and right beneath it displayed a significant figure, 800 kilograms. Unsure whether his punches could meet the 800-kilogram benchmark, he hesitated. Still, he resolved to give it everything he had, knowing his muscles hadn't fully recovered from being unconscious for an entire year. His expression hardened with focus as he faced the robot seriously, shifting smoothly into a fighting stance. With fierce determination, he unleashed a punch against the robot, his fists seeming to ignite from the sheer force. The power of the strike stunned everyone in the room. Even the receptionist turned to look toward Ming-hee in astonishment. The robot's chest plate was violently dislodged, crashing to the floor with a deafening clang. The display on the robot now registered a new value, 1,000 kilograms. Despite this impressive number, Ming-hee felt a twinge of disappointment. It was just barely above the required standard. The other test participants erupted in shouts of disbelief, baffled by Ming-hee's modest reaction, especially since he had just shattered the previous record. The receptionist clarified that the 800 kilograms was the erstwhile record held by Iron Fist, a newcomer who had only recently set that mark, and that Ming-hee had now surpassed it. Ming-hee coyly scratched the back of his head, realizing how he had misinterpreted the number displayed on the screen earlier. Inside the bustling reception hall, the receptionist presented Ming-hee with a 1,000 yuan shopping card as a modest reward for smashing the record. She informed him that achieving more records during rank examinations would earn him even greater prizes. Ming-hee inquired about the various ranks available, and the receptionist explained that they currently manage ranks such as Starlight, Moonglow, Sunblaze, and Heaven Flare, adding that anyone with a higher rank would need to seek assistance elsewhere. As he gazed thoughtfully at the shopping card in his hand, Ming-hee pondered deeply. A smile spread across his face as he recalled rumors claiming that reaching the Heaven Flare rank could earn you a luxury villa and an expensive car. Though uncertain of the truth behind the stories, he resolved to focus solely on strengthening himself and impressing everyone around him. Later, Ming-He arrived at the gathering place to claim the bounty and was surprised by the large crowd drawn to the event. Overwhelmed by the number of superhumans assembled, he wondered if they were all waiting for additional team members to arrive. Liu Kai-Kian, bearing the Moon Glow rank, approached Ming-He and asked if he was alone and interested in joining the Crimson Eagles. Ming-He replied by asking if everyone present was there to recruit more group members. Liu Kai-Kian explained that the sole purpose of waiting was to gather more members because the mission was perilous, and officials prohibit ability users below the Sun Blaze rank from venturing out alone. He agreed to join but requested to know the person's rank first and asked to see the badge. Ming-He displayed his badge confidently. Liu Kai-Kian immediately recognized that he was a Starlight rank intern and informed Ming-He that their team didn't accept newcomers at that level. He warned that it would be suicidal for a Starlight intern to enter and advised Ming-He to return and gain more training first. Ming-He wondered if his low rank was the reason no one wanted to team up with him, when Lin Yaoyu, a former classmate, spotted him. She asked her group members who also knew Ming-He from school to confirm his identity. They took a look and verified it was indeed him. Zheng grinned smugly as he recounted how the other group had shunned Ming-He. Lin Yaoyu then called out to Ming-He. Noticing it was Lin Yaoyu, he approached her. She inquired when he had been discharged and mentioned hearing he had been in a coma. He replied that it had been some time. Meanwhile, Lu Xinghong questioned Ming-He's reasons for coming there. He explained that he needed to earn money quickly to cover his medical expenses, so he decided to hunt mutant monsters. Zheng mocked Ming-He's frail build, suggesting he should focus on avoiding becoming prey to the mutants instead. Lin Yaoyu advised Ming-He to join their group since the area was extremely dangerous and his lack of combat skills made it too risky for him to venture alone. Zheng continued to taunt Ming-He, claiming his only talent was luck, which was better suited for winning the lottery than facing combat. Lin Yaoyu intercepted Zheng, reminding him that Ming-He was an old classmate deserving their support to overcome his challenges. Lin Yaoyu invited Ming-He to join their group, assuring him they would stand by his side and protect him. Ming-He reflected that he had no choice since the officials forbade him from traveling alone. They still looked down on him as before, even though they had been at the Superhuman Institute for over a year. To them, his former classmates had surely grown stronger, but in Ming-He's eyes, he remained the same unfortunate outcast who had been paralyzed for a year. Lu Xinghong suggested treating Ming-He as a lucky mascot since his power was fortune itself. Wang Xiao agreed, insisting they bring Ming-He along out of respect for their shared past, and Lin Yaoyu concurred, emphasizing that classmates should always support one another. She explained to Ming-He that the institute required every student to participate in at least one extracurricular activity. They were considering returning during the summer to help manage the pollution crisis together. Curious, Ming-He asked Lin Yaoyu about Liu Kai-Kian's whereabouts and wondered why she wasn't accompanying the group. Walking ahead, Zheng glanced back and jeered at Ming-He for still fixating on Liu Kai-Kian, taunting him that she had become a celebrated figure at the institute and would never associate with former classmates of such low status. Lin Yaoyu informed Ming-He that Liu Kai-Kian possessed extraordinary abilities, so swift that they couldn't keep pace. She had also heard that Liu Kai-Kian had returned to Lanyang City to assist the authorities in locating the pollution's origin. Recalling that Ming-He scored perfectly in humanities, she sought his perspective on what might be causing the pollution. As their group moved along, glowing eyes suddenly appeared, staring at them from within the street's darkened sewer. Zheng spoke up once more, declaring that flawless academic scores meant little without combat skills, precisely why Ming-He had not gained acceptance into the institute. He then remarked that their current mission was merely pest control, hunting cockroaches, and insisted that students like them were unfit for complex tasks such as tracing the pollution source. Suddenly, he paused to reflect on a report mentioning 3 distinct types of mutated creatures cited recently. These included mutant cockroaches, mutant maggots, and enormous mutant rats. Observing that these creatures were all sewer-dwelling parasites, he hypothesized that a contaminant, likely a liquid, had leaked into the sewer system, transforming the area into a breeding ground for mutated organisms. He assessed the threat level of the mutants and concluded that the giant mutant rats posed the greatest danger, while the cockroaches were relatively manageable. He further speculated that mutant maggots should be weaker than the mutated cockroaches, making them comparatively easier adversaries. Lost in deep thought, he was abruptly snapped back to reality when a massive, hand-like figure suddenly emerged before him. He realized that the mass was composed of mutated maggots. A huge wave of maggots surged forward, engulfing cars and everything else in its path. Lin Yaoyu shouted urgently for everyone to flee immediately. Ming He suddenly understood that maggots were subterranean parasites living and feeding communally. He warned every person they encountered to run, shouting that mutant maggots were chasing them. Suzhen mocked Ming He's panic, insisting there was nothing to fear since they had come to defeat mutants. But when he glimpsed the massive wave of mutant maggots advancing, he was stunned into motionlessness before breaking into a frantic sprint. They all bolted toward the building fortified with reinforced glass doors. Ming He urgently asked Wang Xiao about Lin Yaoyu's whereabouts. Wang Xiao looked guilty before admitting that Lin Yaoyu had tripped and fallen. Ming He spun around in alarm, demanding why Wang Xiao hadn't helped her and urged the group to assist Lin Yaoyu. The entire group was gripped by confusion and fear simultaneously. Then Ming He dashed toward Lin Yaoyu, who shouted for him not to come or he would be killed. He reminded her that she was the one who insisted classmates should always support each other. Spotting a fire hydrant nearby, he immediately reached for it. Water burst forth from the open fire hydrant. Just as the maggots were about to engulf him, Ming He clenched his fists, stirring the water into a swirling vortex. He unleashed an explosive wave punch that blasted the mutant maggots away. Though he couldn't eliminate the maggots completely, he successfully halted their advance. He reached out to Lin Yaoyu, asking if she was okay while offering his support. Accepting his help, she pondered his formidable strength and whether he truly was Ming He. Leaning on Ming He's shoulder, Lin Yaoyu realized for the first time how handsome he actually was. It was unfortunate that he already had someone special in his heart. She felt grateful that Ming He hadn't abandoned her in that moment. Together, Lin Yaoyu and Ming He entered the building and spotted their groupmates seated on the floor. The group quickly rose to their feet and anxiously inquired whether Lin Yaoyu was unharmed. Su Zheng explained they had been preparing to rescue her, but Ming He had acted first. No one had noticed she had stumbled. He admitted he missed the chance to rescue a damsel in distress, prompting Wang Xiao to ask if the mutant maggots had retreated back to the sewer. He instructed them to treat Lin Yaoyu's wounds immediately, warning that the mutant maggots' secretions might be corrosive and require medicated ointment. Lin Yaoyu assured them her injury was merely a minor bruise and unlikely to affect her mobility. Hearing this, Ming He felt relieved and urged the others to look after her carefully. Meanwhile, he set out to inspect the building, determined to block any mutant maggots from infiltrating. Wang Xiao reprimanded Lu Xinghong for neglecting the building inspection and praised the vigilance of Ming He, who had been rejected by the Superhuman Institute. Both men shared an uneasy laugh, their discomfort barely masked. Ming He studied the architectural blueprint of the building intently. He then proceeded into the laboratory room, stepping carefully inside. The very first thing to catch his eye was Vivarium number 1, home to vibrant yellow butterflies. He continued making his way through a series of vivariums, observing each one closely. Eventually, he arrived at Vivarium number 9, where shattered glass and a strange leak signaled trouble. A nearby notice explained that insects from the 9th vivarium went missing on December 30th, 2030. The area was secured and remains under investigation. He felt some relief knowing the vivarium had been empty for over 6 months. He pondered whether the pollution might have caused mutations in domesticated insects, but quickly dismissed the idea, recalling that most mutants stem from the sewer system. As he moved on, he inadvertently stepped on a discarded sheet of paper, which appeared to detail the species originally housed in Vivarium number 9. The paper featured an illustration of a centipede alongside a description. Lion poo pattern centipedes are colossal predators native to southern Peru, recognized as the largest predatory centipede species, notable for their massive jaws and exceptionally long antennae. Ming He confirmed that the back door was securely locked. He reasoned that mutant maggots couldn't have entered, given the absence of other exits and the sealed-off sewer system. His breath caught in shock when he suddenly spotted Dr. Xiao standing outside the building. He couldn't help but question why Dr. Xiao would be wandering alone in such a remote area. Observing Dr. Xiao heading toward a dilapidated building, he assumed that was his residence, and worried about the dangers of him being there solo since he's far from invincible. Suddenly, Ming He's phone buzzed. The screen displayed an unfamiliar number. He picked up and greeted the caller with a simple hello. It turned out to be Nurse Song on the other end of the line. She inquired about his whereabouts and invited him to join her for dinner, wanting to properly express gratitude for saving her life. Nurse Song insisted Ming-hee not decline her invitation and told him to call her Big Sis, explaining that her surname was Song and her given name was Lan, so Sister Song or Sister Lan would be appropriate. Ming-hee informed Nurse Song that he was currently deep within a secluded area. Alarmed, Nurse Song immediately questioned why he was there, reminding him that the zone was meant to be strictly off-limits due to the numerous mutants lurking beyond those they had previously encountered. Ming-hee explained his motivation. He aimed to earn money to ease his sister's financial struggles. Curious, Nurse Song asked whether they shared a biological connection. He clarified that although they weren't related by blood, they had been raised together in an orphanage. Recognizing this, Nurse Song acknowledged that the bond between Ming-hee and his sister transcended typical family ties. As their conversation continued, Nurse Song began undressing to take a shower, wistfully wishing she had a little brother like Ming-hee, kind-hearted, understanding, and genuinely endearing. She expressed her disappointment to Ming-hee, saying since he's currently busy with work, they should postpone their meeting. She lamented that she had even put extra effort into dressing up for the occasion. Ming-hee informed Lan Song that he had spotted Dr. Xiao wandering alone in a secluded part of the area, which was extremely risky. She exclaimed in surprise, asking Ming-hee if he was certain it was Dr. Xiao and questioned what could possibly have brought him there. He clarified that Dr. Xiao hadn't noticed him, suggesting that the window might be opaque from the outside, hiding him from view. Having finished showering and dressing, she confided in Ming-hee that Dr. Xiao had been acting strangely over the past year. Once known for his dedication, he now often left early and occasionally made mistakes during surgeries. She went on to explain that Dr. Xiao appeared exhausted, as if he hadn't slept at all. One day, the headquarters sent him a sample of Calamity Beast blood for purification, but he ended up losing it. Ming-hee was taken aback by the mention of the Calamity Beast blood and recalled lessons from his previous class, where his teacher explained that once this special blood is exposed to oxygen outside the body, it triggers dangerous mutations in the air. He remembered that certain Calamity Beast blood can incubate for up to a year and wondered if this was causing the mutations. Curious, he asked her when Dr. Xiao had lost the sample. She replied that the blood had gone missing about a year ago and suddenly realized that the incident happened on the very day Ming-hee had arrived at the hospital. He explained to her that the Calamity Beast's blood is very likely the source of the pollution, and the timeline perfectly aligns with the mutation's incubation period. Ming-hee suspected that Dr. Xiao had been dishonest, and feeling confident in his own hypotheses, he strongly believed he was correct. It now made sense to Lan Song why Dr. Xiao had ventured alone into the remote area. She suspected he recognized his errors and was returning to recover the contaminated blood. He was probably terrified of facing responsibility for what had happened. He warned Lan Song that the situation was perilous, emphasizing that Dr. Xiao, being human and not superhuman, was likely to encounter severely mutated creatures near the pollution's epicenter. He advised her that this was a serious issue and urged her to alert the authorities immediately so they could investigate the compromised building. He believed Dr. Xiao had underestimated the threat and was determined to intervene. She consented to his proposed course of action without hesitation. He reassured her that his goal was solely to stop Dr. Xiao and that he had no intention of entering the heart of the polluted zone. He returned to his teammates and informed them that the building was secure, with all entrances firmly sealed to prevent any maggots from infiltrating. He told them they could rest there safely, but explained he had urgent matters to attend to and promised he would return shortly before heading outside immediately. She asked Ming-hee where he intended to go, cautioning him that it was dangerous to venture outside alone. However, the door was already closed and locked. Outside, Ming-hee observed countless motionless maggots scattered across the street and began to form theories about their condition. The mutated maggots will be incapacitated for some time, incapable of causing any harm. He took a shortcut to intercept Dr. Xiao immediately, but 3 cockroaches suddenly ambushed him in the alley. He swiftly defeated the cockroaches and pressed onward without hesitation. Soon after, he spotted Dr. Xiao preparing to enter the building. Choosing to stay hidden, he decided to observe quietly. As Dr. Xiao stepped inside the building, Ming-hee silently followed close behind. Inside, he was stunned to find a massive hole gouged into the floor, but Dr. Xiao was nowhere in sight. His eyes caught sight of a ladder descending into the depths of the hole. He surmised that Dr. Xiao must have climbed down. Without hesitation, he plunged into the hole, pondering Dr. Zio's true intentions, suspecting there was more complexity than met the eye. He landed in a chamber encircled by numerous pipelines lining the walls. He then spotted Dr. Zio entering the area housing the Lan Yang water supply tank. The tank featured an attached ladder, and Dr. Zio began to ascend. He revealed himself and confronted Dr. Zio, demanding to know what he was up to. Dr. Zio was visibly startled to see Ming-He. Ming-He questioned Dr. Zio about whether he had truly purified the Calamity Beast's blood from the incident a year ago, leaving Dr. Zio shocked that Ming-He was aware of it. Ming-He pressed Dr. Zio for a clear explanation. Trembling, Dr. Zio confessed to a severe mistake, explaining that initially he was unaware and did not deliberately withhold the truth, insisting it was unintentional. He climbed down the ladder and approached Ming-He, asserting that as a doctor, his foremost duty was to save lives. He was unaware that his carelessness would trigger mutations in the organisms. He had simply come to investigate possible water contamination caused by the blood spilled nearby. He stressed his deep desire to make things right. Junpei told Dr. Zio that he was not invincible and should have reported the incident to the authorities instead. Dr. Zio dropped to his knees, pleading with Junpei for help since he possessed superhuman abilities. He had witnessed Junpei's immense strength during the hospital assault. Dr. Zio confessed that if the officials discovered the truth, he could face imprisonment. He feared that no one would be there to support his family if that were to happen. Junpei urged Dr. Zio to compose himself, warning that his abilities had limits and attempting more would be tantamount to courting death. Reluctantly allowing the mutation to persist, Dr. Zio agreed. Junpei extended a hand, proposing that they go together to report the matter to the authorities and let them manage the situation. Hearing Junpei's supportive suggestion, Dr. Zio felt relieved and inquired if Junpei had kept the matter confidential so far. Junpei confirmed his silence and advised Dr. Zio to personally disclose all details to the officials. He questioned Dr. Zio about whether he had truly lost blood there and if that was the pollution source. Dr. Zio verified the blood loss but admitted he wasn't the one who hemorrhaged, clarifying that he was merely a student. He confessed there were many aspects he still couldn't grasp. Junpei silently suspected that there was something suspicious about Dr. Zio. But he feels trapped, uncertain about what unpredictable experiments Dr. Zio might conduct there. He confessed to Dr. Zio that he couldn't grasp the meaning behind his words. Dr. Zio began to elaborate. Cockroaches, maggots, and rats lurk in the city's shadows, breeding germs and spreading diseases, provoking humanity's relentless urge to exterminate them. Ming-He nodded in agreement, though he remained puzzled by Dr. Zio's underlying message. Dr. Zio challenged him to consider how humans recklessly multiply, exploit resources, and generate endless industrial and chemical pollution, further devastating the planet's environment. To the extent that waste is now being launched into outer space, revealing that human actions mirror those of cockroaches, maggots, and rats. Ming-He concurred, acknowledging the urgent need to safeguard the environment. Dr. Zio asserted that, from a cosmic perspective, the very emergence of life is a flaw. Life should not exist at all. A lifeless universe is sublime and tranquil, but once life emerges, it acts like a bacterial infection invading a perfectly healthy organism. Humans reign as the ultimate germs akin to cancer cells, notorious for their relentless and unchecked division. They obliterate healthy cells as they reproduce endlessly across generations, ceaselessly ravaging the world. Humans relentlessly yearn to leave Earth and dominate the solar system, harboring aspirations to possess the Milky Way. Yet, wherever humanity spreads, true beauty and tranquility remain elusive. After concluding his sermon, Dr. Zio posed a question to Ming-He. Was there any fundamental difference between cancer cells and human beings? Ming-He responded by admitting that he couldn't fully comprehend the meaning behind Dr. Zio's words, considering himself merely a student and perceiving the doctor's statements as antagonistic toward humanity. Dr. Zio elaborated, explaining that when a human falls ill, their immune system works to eradicate the invading pathogens. He proposed that the universe itself is afflicted with a sickness and anticipates generating a force intended to eliminate the human species, theorizing that natural calamities, such as beasts, disasters, and catastrophes, are manifestations of the universe's immune response, designed to eradicate humanity entirely. Ming-He perceived Dr. Zio's words as profoundly bizarre and indicative of madness, telling him that his ideas exceeded the bounds of their current discussion. He reminded the doctor that their focus was on how pollution, stemming from his own mistakes, caused mutations in organisms that led to numerous deaths. At that moment, Dr. Zio removed his glasses deliberately. He declared that as a doctor treats the sick, so too does he see himself as a healer for the universe. He boldly claimed the title of Doctor of the Universe. His mission, he explained, was to help the universe eradicate humans who proliferate and spread like cancer cells. In his view, cockroaches, rats, and maggots were far less destructive than humans. After delivering this unsettling declaration, he fell silent, speechless. Dr. Zio confessed that the source of pollution originated from a seemingly harmless experiment. His plan was to first annihilate the residents of Lanyang City and then extend his devastation to all major metropolitan areas. He believed that the earth needed cleansing and that humanity itself was destined for extinction. Regarding Ming-He, he sarcastically thanked him for his ignorance and gullibility, seeing it as an advantage for his scheme. He felt triumphant, confident that he could proceed unimpeded in contaminating the entire city. Ming-He informed Dr. Zio that the southern suburbs had been sealed off and placed under strict quarantine to prevent the mutation outbreak from spreading further. Dr. Zio chuckled and asked Ming-He whether they had the capability to shut down the main water pipelines, since the city's entire water supply flowed through them. By contaminating the water supply, the mutation source could infiltrate every corner of Lanyang City. The city's inhabitants relied heavily on tap water for everything from cleaning groceries to bathing and maintaining the streets. All of this water eventually drained into the city's sewage system. Subsequently, all the maggots, cockroaches, and rats within the city would undergo mutations. Ming-He found Dr. Zio's plans horrific and resolved to intervene. Knowing that Dr. Zio lacked superhuman strength, he felt confident he could stop him. Ming-He told Dr. Zio that he couldn't comprehend his twisted rationale and urged him to carry on with his work alone as he prepared to leave. Dr. Zio was taken aback by Ming-He's decision not to obstruct him. He had assumed that Ming-He's hospital work reflected a heroic commitment to save lives and protect the city. As he turned to leave, Ming-He retorted sharply that the man was cowardly, just a worthless reject who had failed to gain entry into the Superhuman Institute and was utterly unfit to be a hero. Dr. Zio commended Ming-He for his wisdom in not interfering, then revealed that all he needed was to pour the blood into the tank to complete his plan, warning that even if the authorities arrived, it would already be too late. Just as Dr. Zio reached to retrieve the blood vial from his lab coat pocket, he suddenly realized it was missing. He recalled that Ming-He had casually touched his chest during their conversation. Fury overtook Dr. Zio, triggering a fierce transformation. With a growl, he demanded that Ming-He return the stolen blood immediately. Ming-He wondered if the doctor's metamorphosis was a result of his own extraordinary powers. He soon realized that Dr. Zio had subjected himself to experimental mutation procedures. His eyes caught a pronounced bulge protruding from the doctor's right shoulder. Dr. Zio grasped the swelling, tore it free from his shoulder, and hurled it straight at Ming-He. The mass from his shoulder instantly morphed into 4 small, quadrupedal creatures. Each beast sported razor-sharp legs, with one front limb sharpened like a deadly blade. As Ming-He reached out to grip the ladder, anticipating escape, one of the beasts swiftly slashed, severing the ladder beneath him. Immediately, the 4 creatures closed in, encircling him with hostile intent. The beasts lunged forward, but Ming-He stepped firmly on them, using their bodies as leverage to propel himself out of the pit. Landing beside the hole, Ming-He noticed exposed concrete and swiftly employed his mystic punch ability to extract elemental forces, sealing the opening entirely. Just as the beast prepared to leap through the opening, it was abruptly halted, crashing headfirst against the unforgiving concrete. Dr. Zio could detect the Calamity Beast's blood scent lingering in the air, as his own body was infused with it. He believed that Ming-He stood no chance of escaping his pursuit. Ming-He dashed swiftly down a narrow alleyway. He reflected that even a giant mutant rat possessed formidable strength, so a mutated adult male would undoubtedly be far more powerful. He concluded he was no match for the mutated Dr. Zio's overwhelming power. Avoiding his own group's direction, Ming-He knew that if mutated Dr. Zio caught up, they would all be annihilated given their current condition. Opting to stall until the authorities arrived to reclaim the Calamity Beast's blood, he placed his trust in Nurse Song's assistance. A maggot twitched and Moonglow ranked Huang Feng stepped on it, declaring the extermination complete. To the west of the abandoned structure, Moonglow ranked Zio ran, clutching a knife, sat atop the lifeless body of a mutated cockroach, crushing its severed head beneath his foot as he announced their area was cleared. Moonglow ranked Liao Zio Jiang suggested they should retreat, revealing that he had just depleted his magical energy. Liu Kai Kaiyan summoned his puppets back, pleased by the substantial bounty he had earned. Their healer inquired if stronger monsters were present, when suddenly the metal plate beneath him began to glow mysteriously. With a sudden force, the metal plate and the healer were violently thrown aside. Zio Ran acted swiftly, rescuing the healer from harm's way. A grotesquely mutated Dr. Zio emerged abruptly from the crevice. Huang Feng assumed the newcomer was Linder, the healer. Liao Zio Jiang urged the group to swiftly eliminate the mutated Dr. Zio before seeking a safe place to rest. Liu Kai Kaiyan's eyes lit up at the sight of the massive monster. He quickly calculated they might earn 100,000 by killing it, even breaking down each person's share, finding it far easier than battling maggots. Huang Feng spat at Dr. Zio, branding him a vile monster, and declared him unfortunate to have crossed paths with a group of Moon Glow-ranked superhumans. Mutated Dr. Zio muttered grimly that the only cure was to annihilate them all. Without hesitation, he snatched Huang Feng with his monstrous right hand. Using his ability, Huang Feng stepped back swiftly, mocking Dr. Zio for his sluggish speed. But as Dr. Zio's arms suddenly lunged forward, cold sweat broke out across Huang Feng's face in an instant. Mutated Dr. Zio clamped his grasp tightly around Huang Feng's neck, hoisting him effortlessly. Raising his left arm, spikes erupted violently from it, puncturing Huang Feng deeply. Mutated Dr. Zio counted off coldly. 1. Zio Ran's fury blazed fiercely. She slashed furiously at mutated Dr. Zio, demanding he release Huang Feng at once. Witnessing Dr. Zio's wound sealed rapidly, she attacked again, hurling insults about his grotesque and repugnant form. As Zio Ran closed in on mutated Dr. Zio, he retaliated with a lethal swipe of his left hand, slashing across her chest. Zio Ran lay motionless on the floor as mutated Dr. Zio casually tossed Huang Fei's body beside hers and counted out 2. Then, with a sinister grin, he turned to the rest of the group, tauntingly asking if they felt pleased that their teammates had died after all. Now they could claim a larger share of the reward. The remaining group members were visibly terrified, beads of sweat pouring down their faces as dread overwhelmed them. Mutated Dr. Zio licked his lips with a predatory hunger. From the gaping hole in mutated Dr. Zio's body emerged 4 fearsome mutated beasts. With a mocking tone, mutated Dr. Zio lamented that he was pressed for time, otherwise he would have delighted in prolonging his torment of them. One of the smaller beasts caught a scent and immediately bolted decisively in a specific direction. Mutated Dr. Zio hurried after the 4 small creatures, his excitement mounting as he realized he was closing in on Liao Minghe's location, already envisioning how he would tear him apart. The quartet of mutated beasts, led by mutated Dr. Zio, sprinted relentlessly toward where Liao Minghe was, the doctor's anticipation boiling over at the thought of ripping him to shreds. At the same time, Liao Zio Jiang clutched Zio Ran's lifeless body tightly, both of them trembling and overcome with sorrow. The encounter had shaken them deeply. After confronting the monstrous beast, Liu Kai Kaiyan questioned Liao Zio Jiang about the terrifying creature's identity. He deduced it was likely a Lord-ranked monster. Both felt an overwhelming sense of relief and gratitude to have survived such a harrowing ordeal. Meanwhile, Minghe sprinted through the twisting streets, suddenly realizing that 4 mutated beasts were relentlessly chasing him, despite his earlier certainty that he had lost them. The beasts expertly navigated the maze like alleys, and Minghe suspected they were tracking his scent to stay on his trail. Relieved that mutated Dr. Zio was slower than the pursuing creatures, Minghe identified the 4 beasts detached from Zio's form as lymphoma beasts. Driven now by urgency, Minghe resolved to stop mutated Dr. Zio from capturing his blood at any cost. While fleeing, he spotted an abandoned gas station nearby and seized the chance to create a diversion. Using gasoline, he masked his scent partially, hoping this ruse would buy him precious time to escape until help arrived. Upon entering the gas station's convenience store, Minghe assessed the situation. He noticed 3 of the beasts bypassed the station, continuing their chase, while the 4th veered directly toward him. Minghe watched intently as the 4th beast stepped inside the grocery store. He concealed himself behind a rack of potato chips, preparing to strike the approaching beast. Unexpectedly, the footsteps halted abruptly, catching Minghe off guard. Turning swiftly, he caught sight of his own reflection alongside the poised beast reflected in the mirror, ready to attack. In a flash, Ming-He dodged the strike with agile precision. His evasive maneuver sent the potato chip rack tumbling toward the beast, buying him a crucial moment. He sprinted toward the door but paused, realizing the fourth beast probably possessed a keen sense of smell that would quickly track him down again. Knowing the fourth beast was isolated from the other three, Ming-He decided to seize the moment and eliminate it instead of endlessly fleeing. The fourth beast successfully broke free from the trap set by the potato chip display. To unleash his special punch spiritual skill, Ming-He's fist needed to strike a medium sharing the same elemental attribute. He observed that no suitable mediums were present in the market, and venturing outside posed dangers of being spotted by the other beasts. Unable to find a compatible medium, the fourth beast lunged at Ming-He, slashing with its sharp claws. Ming-He resolved to confront the fourth beast head-on, relying solely on his own strength. He skillfully evaded the beast's strike and countered with a powerful punch to its abdomen using his left fist. The force sent the beast crashing into a sack of flour. The sack burst open, blanketing the area in flour and severely reducing Ming-He's visibility. Spotting the chance to strike, the fourth beast pounced fiercely on Ming-He. Caught off guard, Ming-He found the beast gripping his shoulders tightly. With one leg pressing down on his right arm, Ming-He stumbled backward, forcing him to the ground beneath the weight of the beast. The beast aimed to bite Ming-He's head, but he narrowly dodged, causing the creature to falter and weaken its hold on his shoulders. With a lightning-fast strike, Ming-He slammed his right fist into the beast's jaws, unleashing a swift barrage of punches to keep it reeling off balance. Once Ming-He confirmed the beast was unable to evade his attacks, he unleashed a devastating punch. The sheer power of the hit left a clear dent on the market's facade. Without looking back, Ming-He turned and strode away from the aftermath. A gaping hole torn in the market wall revealed the beast's decapitated body slumped against it. Elsewhere along the street, dark blood-tinged liquid sprayed from Dr. Zio's shoulders. Seething with fury, Dr. Zio cursed Ming-He under his breath before making his way toward the gas station. Inside the supermarket there, he discovered the lifeless beast. To confront Ming-He, Dr. Zio resolved that the three remaining beasts must undergo evolution. He commanded them to consume the dead creature's flesh. This caused them to grow in size and sprout razor-sharp bony spikes along their spines. Now endowed with heightened factory-honed senses, the beasts became deadlier than ever. Dr. Zio ordered them to capture Ming-He alive. Without hesitation, the beasts charged off in a precise direction. Ming-He sprinted down the street until he spotted the three beasts bearing down on him. Perplexed, he wondered how the survivors tracked him down despite his having killed the one with the enhanced sense of smell. The beasts barked fiercely, vaulting over parked cars with agility. Ming-He noticed their barks grow more menacing, carrying a darker, more intimidating tone. Up ahead, Ming-He caught sight of an amusement park. He was convinced that the site was perfect, brimming with complex machinery he could harness once the beasts caught up with him. Ming-He felt assured that possessing a unique medium would steadily enhance his strength. To prevent igniting himself while executing the blazing punch, he chose to rinse off the gasoline thoroughly. Although the beasts had an uncanny ability to track him, Ming-He believed moving continuously was safer than attempting to hide. Ming-He devised a strategy to widen the distance between himself and the beasts, eliminating as many as possible, well aware of his vulnerability against Dr. Zio. As dusk settled, Ming-He wandered through the eerie amusement park. Footsteps on the rooftop drew his attention, prompting him to turn and spot the evolved beast. He was awestruck by the beast's dramatic and intimidating transformation. The beast vaulted down from the building, wielding an axe tightly gripped in its left hand. It slammed the blade forcefully onto the ground, sending vibrations through the air. Ming-He narrowly dodged the strike but couldn't help noticing how much stronger the beast had become. Without hesitation, the beast launched another assault, leaping toward him with an axe in its right hand. Despite the relentless onslaught, Ming-He skillfully evaded every strike with precision. As he backed away, he observed a noticeable slowdown in the beast's movements. Seizing the opportunity, he resolved to stand his ground and fight back against the beast. Suddenly, two more beasts emerged, flanking Ming-He from either side. To make his escape, Ming-He sprinted toward the tracks of a nearby roller coaster. He intended to leverage the narrow confines of the tracks, taking down the beasts one at a time. Climbing the track, he infused his fists with mystic punch element extraction, preparing for the imminent battle. The moment Ming-He reached the summit, a ferocious beast leapt out, ready to strike. Without hesitation, Ming-He unleashed a devastating punch with his metal-clad fists, neutralizing the assault and triggering a powerful shockwave. Using his left hand, Ming-He destabilized the beast, then drove his right fist straight through its chest. The creature tumbled off the narrow path as a result. The Mystic Punch, empowered by absorbed metal, can penetrate monsters at the evolved beast tier, roughly equivalent to warlord rank. Buoyed by confidence, Ming-He prepared to confront each evolved beast individually. Advancing steadily, Ming-He faced a beast charging head-on, while another slithered along the track's lower edge, attempting to flank him. The lead beast swung its razor-sharp axe-like claws in a fierce attack. Ming-He deftly blocked and deflected the blow with his right arm, exposing the beast's vulnerable chest. Seizing the moment, Ming-He lashed out with his left fist, striking the beast's chest. Before his punch landed, a rib-like bony armor erupted from the beast's chest. Though the beast was thrown back, Ming-He's strike failed to penetrate its newly formed bone shield. Ming-He was taken aback by the rapid pace at which these beasts evolved their defenses. A beast lurking below lunged to bite, but Ming-He's swift reflexes allowed him to evade effortlessly. He immediately retaliated, delivering a powerful kick to the creature's neck. The beast smirked as sharp bone needles sprouted menacingly along its neck. Ming-He thought the beast's anatomy was outrageously formidable. The second beast began climbing toward the upper section of the track, while the one that had been thrown off swiftly recovered and positioned itself behind him, effectively surrounding him between the two ferocious creatures. Both beasts launched a coordinated assault on Ming-He at the exact same moment. Ming-He narrowly dodged and blocked their strikes with precise punches and evasive movements. Seizing the moment as the beast in front closed the distance, Ming-He delivered a sharp, forceful punch to its jaw with his right fist. At the same time, he drove his left elbow into the beast trailing him, knocking it unconscious instantly. Despite this, the beast before him remained standing and renewed its attack without hesitation. Ming-He responded fiercely, unleashing a relentless barrage of punches as their brutal fight continued unabated. He steadily forced the beast backward. After its companion was down, Ming-He unleashed a powerful left hook that marked a turning point. The beast defensively crossed its arms to block the punch, then smoothly slid downward, evading the follow-up strikes. Recovering from the hit, the beast smirked at Ming-He, ridiculing him for what it perceived as insufficient strength. Ming-He, however, remained unfazed by the beast's taunts, maintaining his focus without a flicker of annoyance. Just as the beast advanced aggressively, the roller coaster vehicle suddenly surged forward. Caught off guard by this unexpected movement, the beast failed to react in time and was struck down by the vehicle. Ming-He hung gripping a bar between the rails as the roller coaster rushed past him, narrowly avoiding danger. Before confronting the evolved beasts, Ming-He had made his way to the control room to assess the situation. He confirmed that the electricity remained active and resolved to utilize the roller coaster ride as a means to wipe out the remaining beasts. Hanging tightly from the bar, Ming-He glanced down and realized that a fall from his position would likely result in either broken legs or instant death. The previously unconscious beast had regained awareness and was now suspended on a nearby bar between the rails, close to Ming-He's location. Using its tail to grip the bar, the beast launched a fierce assault on Ming-He, swinging its dual axe-like hands. Forced to release his grip on the bar, Ming-He quickly braced himself and blocked the savage strike from the beast. Seizing the moment, Ming-He grabbed hold of the beast's axe-shaped hands to control the attack. He deduced that since these beasts are parasitic entities feeding off Dr. Zio, eliminating one would simultaneously diminish a part of Dr. Zio himself. As he descended, Ming-He pulled the beast along. The creature released the bar, convinced that killing Ming-He during the fall still counted as a victory. However, Ming-He managed to pull the beast beneath him and pressed his foot firmly against it. He strategically intended to use the beast's body to cushion the impact of his fall. The beast wailed in despair, realizing that it was meeting an inevitable and grim fate. Moments later, the beast slammed against the ground with a loud, crushing impact. As dust billowed around him, Ming-He emerged from the smoky haze unscathed. Brushing dust off his shirt, he reflected that the beast's downfall was a deserved consequence of its arrogance. Night had already fallen, casting darkness across the sky. Ming-He made his way to the closest water faucet to refresh himself. While on the phone with Nurse Song, she inquired why Ming-He hadn't answered her calls and checked if he was all right. He explained to Nurse Song that his phone had been on silent mode, which is why he hadn't responded sooner. Nurse Song reported that the officials had arrived at the building he mentioned and had secured the area under their control. She also updated him that while the officials were currently eliminating the monsters found inside, they had not encountered either him or Dr. Zio. Ming-He recounted everything to her, revealing that Dr. Zio orchestrated the entire pollution incident and that he was currently at an amusement park. He further explained Dr. Zio's horrific plan to dump the contaminated blood serum into the city's water supply, aiming to devastate Lanyang City's sewage system. Nurse Song was appalled by such a vile scheme. Ming-He informed Nurse Song that he managed to steal the blood serum from Dr. Zio and suspected it was the cause of the mutations. Nurse Song clarified to Ming-He that after experts extract the antibodies from the blood serum, both the antibodies and the mutation catalyst remain present in the organism's blood. She assured Ming-He that once the antibodies were extracted, the polluted southern suburb could be restored to normal, emphasizing the critical importance of the serum he possessed. Nurse Song instructed Ming-He to hold his position while she coordinated with the officials to dispatch a team to the amusement park to pick him up. However, Ming-He disagreed, directing Nurse Song to tell the officials to meet him at the southern tower instead, since Dr. Zio was still pursuing him and he could not remain in one place. He then instructed Nurse Song to inform the authorities that Dr. Zio had mutated, urging them to summon expert help immediately. Without intervention, Dr. Zio was certain to annihilate everyone. Upon Nurse Song's consent, Ming-He swiftly took off, sprinting without hesitation. By the time Ming-He reached the southern tower, Dr. Zio awaited him, fully anticipating his approach. Dr. Zio transformed back into his human form.